2025 is not just another year on the calendar, it's shaping up to be a stress test for the world economy. Inflation, debt, energy, technology, and geopolitics. All of these threads are colliding, and the way governments respond will affect not just Wall Street or central bankers, but the price of your food, the security of your job, and the stability of your savings. Let's break it down. Act 1. The big picture. Globally, three forces dominate the outlook: high debt. Governments spent heavily during the pandemic, and rising interest rates are now making that debt expensive to service. Stubborn inflation. It's cooled from 2022 highs, but it hasn't gone away. Energy shocks, food insecurity, and supply chain shifts keep prices unstable. Fragmentation. Instead of a fully globalized economy, we are seeing blocks: the US and EU on one side, China and BRICS nations building alternatives, and many countries caught in the middle. Act 2. United States. The US economy looks resilient on the surface. Growth is holding up, unemployment is low, and tech companies are cash rich. But there are cracks. The national debt crossed $35 trillion. The Federal Reserve is torn between keeping rates high to fight inflation or cutting them to avoid a slowdown. An election year adds political risk, with debates over tariffs, taxes, and even government shutdown threats. For everyday Americans, this means a mixed bag. Jobs in tech and services remain strong, but housing affordability is near record lows, and credit card debt is at historic highs. Act 3. Europe. Europe is struggling with stagnation. Energy prices are still higher than pre-war levels, industrial output is weak, and governments are divided on fiscal discipline. Germany, once Europe's powerhouse, is now called the sick man of Europe by some economists. The ECB faces the same dilemma as the Fed: cut rates and risk inflation, or stay tight and choke growth. For Europeans, it feels like slow erosion. Wages don't stretch far, housing is expensive, and the promise of stability feels shaky. Act 4. China and BRICS. China is in transition. Growth is slowing from double digits to around 4 to 5%. Its property sector is in crisis. Youth unemployment is so high that Beijing has even stopped publishing data. But China is also leading a long game, pushing trade in yuan, investing in Africa and Asia, and promoting BRICS as an alternative to the Western-led system. Other BRICS nations, India, Brazil, South Africa, and the new members like Saudi Arabia, see 2025 as a chance to reduce dependence on the dollar and shift global trade patterns. For ordinary citizens in these countries, the story is uneven. India's middle class is expanding, but job creation lags behind population growth. Brazil faces inflation in food and energy, but benefits from commodity exports. In Africa, Chinese investment brings infrastructure, but also new debt burdens. Act 5. The wild cards. Several unknowns could tilt 2025 sharply in one direction or another. Oil markets. If Middle East tensions escalate, prices could spike, pushing global inflation back up. AI and automation. Tech disruption creates new jobs, but wipes out others, widening inequality. Geopolitical shocks. A Taiwan crisis, escalation in Ukraine, or sanctions wars could redraw trade flows overnight. Act 6. What it means for people. At the ground level, what does all this mean? Expect higher cost of living in most regions, even if inflation cools. Jobs will be safe in sectors tied to technology, healthcare, and energy. But routine work, especially manufacturing in high-cost countries, remains vulnerable. Savers face low trust in currencies, so gold and even crypto are drawing interest as hedges. Migration pressure will rise as people in fragile economies look for stability abroad. So, the takeaway: 2025 won't be the year the global economy breaks, but it will be the year the cracks widen. Debt burdens, geopolitical rivalries, and inequality will all become harder to paper over. For regular people, the message is simple: brace for volatility, diversify your income and savings, and watch how politics drives economics. Because in 2025, the two are more intertwined than ever. This is Headline Circus, cutting through the noise, one headline at a time. Subscribe, stay tuned, and remember, the circus never leaves town.